These are 7 best ways to redeem your Chase points to maximize their value. But first, you'll need to know how Chase points actually work because many people get this wrong. So when you use your Chase card, let's use your Reserve card for this example, you earn 3 points back for every dollar you spend out on dining. So if you spend $100, then you would earn 300 points for that dinner. And when you redeem those 300 points, the actual value of each point depends on what you're redeeming them for. And this is what we're going to go over today, the 7 best ways to maximize your point value. So your goal should be to redeem them for a value of 1.5 cents per point. Otherwise, you're wasting your points. This means that if you earn 3x back on dining with the Reserve card, those 3 points will be worth an equivalent of 4.5 cents. With that said, the first way to redeem your points is the most obvious, cash back. When you redeem your points for cash, you'll see that you have a calculator that allows you to see how much your points are worth. And here you'll see that every 100 points is worth $1. So every 100,000 points will be worth $1,000. In this case, it will be $1,000 divided by the 100,000 points, which will give you a value of 1 cent per point, which is fine, but not great. Remember, we want at least a value of 1.5 cents per point, so 50% more than this option. So while this may be one of the easiest ways to redeem your points, this is far from the best value. And if you want to redeem your points for cash back, you might as well just stick with a cashback card. The next way to redeem your points is with Apple. Redeeming your points with Apple is pretty simple. In the same Ultimate Rewards section, you'll see you have the option to use your points on shopping and experiences. Under that tab, you'll see Shop Apple. For this example, let's do some new AirPods since my mom's dogs always end up chewing at least one of hers. With these AirPods, you can see that the converted value is pretty basic, as a $169 purchase is equivalent to 16,900 points. Again, 1 cent per point, so very similar value to the cashback option from before. The only benefit is that instead of converting points to cash and then buying something, you can just use your points directly on whatever Apple product you like. And this isn't the only retailer that you can do this with, because the next way to redeem your points is by paying at checkout. With Chase, you can easily check out with either Amazon or PayPal. However, for this process, you will have to enroll and link your Chase account. Now, this is a pretty easy way, but overall, the value for this redemption is pretty abysmal. For example, you can actually see that I'm not even enrolled in this because when you look at the conversion value of $184 for 23,000 points, we get a value of 0.8 cents per point, lower than the 1 cent per point value we're getting for cashback or even Apple, which is kind of odd because I would expect that if Chase was able to partner with either Amazon or PayPal, they would at least be able to match the 1 cent per point of the cashback. But who knows, maybe for some people the convenience of using points on Amazon is enough to not even think about how trash its value is. And just for one more comparison, remember when we use that 100,000 points as a benchmark for converting, remember that we were able to get at least $1,000. But when redeemed this way, that 100,000 points would be equivalent to around $800. However, with that said, let's move on to the next option, redeeming your points for gift cards. One of the best parts about redeeming your points for gift cards is that you have a lot more brands to choose from. In addition to that, not only can you do an online digital gift card, you can also do a physical gift card if you actually want to use it as a gift for someone else. So, how do you redeem these points? In the same section as shopping and experiences, you'll see you have the option to select through different brands, like Bath & Body Works, Old Navy, Instacart, and more. Now, the really cool part about redeeming your points for gift cards is that you'll actually see you have the option of some cards that are on sale for even 10 to 15% off. But what's even funnier is since you can actually redeem your points with multiple brands, you also have the option to redeem your points for an Amazon gift card. And what's funny about that is when you try to redeem the points for a $100 gift card, it only requires 10,000 points, or a 1 cent per point value, better than the previous options of redeeming directly through Amazon. Again, I have no clue why that is, but it's the way the partnership is set up, I guess. With that said, the only thing that really sucks about this is that because there's so many different brands, it makes it difficult to have to actually search through all the options of the companies that you actually want to decide whether or not it's worth it or not. Luckily, there's an easier and better option for maximizing your points, like with Chase Dining. To redeem your points for dining, you'll select the shopping and experience section in the Chase Ultimate Rewards and choose Explore Dining. This will bring you to the Talk platform where you can reserve a spot for up to 20 guests in restaurants nationwide. Now, for the most part, if you have any of the Freedom cards, your point value for this will be 1 cent for each point. However, when you redeem your points with the Sapphire cards, you'll see an increase in the point value. For example, with Chase Sapphire Reserve, you'll see you have the option to redeem your points for the Subame for 15,000 points. In this case, those 15,000 points would be equivalent to around $225. So when you plug that into our formula, you can see that each point is worth around around 1.5 cents per point. This is a pretty good way to redeem your points, especially if you're a foodie and want to treat yourself to some higher end restaurants, but don't want to spend your hard-earned money. Also, if you're interested in opening any of the Sapphire cards, I'll leave a link to them in the description of this video that'll help support the channel. But with that said, let's finally get into redeeming your points for some travel. In the Ultimate Rewards, you'll see at the top next to shopping and experiences, you'll see you have the option for the travel portal. With the Chase Freedom cards, each point will be worth around 1 cent per point. But let's go through some examples to show you how this all works. Starting with hotels. Through the Chase portal, you can book from a plethora of hotels, but if you've heard many people reserving amazing hotels through Chase, a lot of times they're talking about booking a Hyatt room. And that's because with Chase, you can actually transfer your points to Hyatt to get an amazing room for basically a massive discount. In this case, a night stay would cost you around $578, or 30,000 points, which brings you to a value of 1.9 cents per point, which is amazing, seeing as it's the highest value so far. But what if you want to travel in a bit more luxury and international? How about the Park Hyatt in Paris? Well, a room there would cost you at minimum 1,503 euros a night, whereas it would only cost you around 45,000 points. So what's that convert to? Well, in this case, it would convert to a value of 3.3 cents per point. And you'll find these high values common with Hyatt hotels around the world. But the biggest question is, can you do the same thing with flights? Well, the way you redeem those points for flights is in the same travel portal right next to hotels. But just like with the hotels, you can also transfer your points from Chase out to airline partners. And this is much more valuable than redeeming your points through the travel portal. So let's go through an example, like flying from New York to Paris to finish out that trip. Your flight in an economy seat on Air France would cost you a minimum of $561. However, in transferring from Chase to Flying Blue, it would only cost you around 20,000 points and $97. So to calculate the value of each point, we need to adjust the formula just a little bit. Instead of just doing the cash value of the ticket divided by the amount of points needed, we need to actually subtract the cash we would have to pay for the flight. So in this case, it would be $561, subtract the $97, divided by the 20,000 points, which gives us a value of 2.3 cents per point. Pretty good for just an economy seat, but we can do better. Like how about a more premium seat, like a business class ticket from New York to Dubai? Well, currently on Air Canada, a ticket would cost you around $7,000. But would only be 90,000 points and 89 Canadian dollars. So what's the actual value per point? Well, plugging it back into our formula, we would have $7,000 subtract the $89 divided by the 90,000 points. And that gives us a value of 7.6 cents per point, the highest value we've seen so far. This just shows you how amazing it is to use your points with transfer partners instead of just going through the Chase travel portal. And that's not to mention the fact that with the Sapphire Preferred card, you also have a $50 hotel credit, and with the Sapphire Reserve card, you'll have a $300 annual travel credit, which you can use to cover the difference on those flights or just use on another trip. And that leads me to something that you've got to start understanding. While redeeming your points for travel is a huge perk of the Reserve card, there are a ton more that you don't even know about. Click here to learn about the secret perks and benefits the Reserve card has to offer that you didn't even know about. And see you in that video. Bye.